is aimed at briefing the media on the creation of polling units, forthcoming Anambra and other elections. Speaking, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu says the voter registration exercise will last for 1 year.
The success of the exercise depends to a considerable extent on citizens' awareness through voter education. There will be new registrants, requests for intrastate and interstate transfers.
Responding, the President, Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, commended INEC for its innovation and for strengthening the electoral process since the return of democracy.
In line with global reality, the INEC has welcomed it, and the process of digitizing our electoral system has just started.
The leadership of the electoral umpire also held a closed-door meeting with head of security agencies. Al-Hassan Bala, ITV News, Abuja.
The federal government has approved the establishment of 2 more universities of technology in the country. The Minister of Education, Adamu, disclosed this in Abuja at a press briefing on Monday. Correspondent Zachary Gabriel reports that the minister said the 2 universities will be located in Jigawa and Akwa Ibom.
The Minister of Education, Adamu, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Architect Sonny Echonu, said the approval for the establishment of the 2 universities of technology is in line with President Muhammadu Buhari administration's efforts to stimulate rapid technological transformation of the country.
After a comprehensive review of the policy by key stakeholders in the education sector, it was resolved that 4 existing universities of technology located in Yola in the northeast zone, Akure in the southwest zone, Owerri in the southeast zone, and Mina in north central zone should be upgraded.
Similarly, Architect Sonny Echonu further said a National Institute of Technology shall be established in the Federal Capital Territory.
The institute shall be patterned after similar institutions in Singapore and Malaysia to serve essentially as a postgraduate center devoted to research and innovation.
The Permanent Secretary said the 2 universities of technology will be established later in the year, while the National Institute of Technology on stream 2020. Zachary Gabriel, ITV News, Abuja.
There was visible improvement in the conduct of the 2021 JAMB UTME in centers across Benin City compared to the disorderliness and protest that trailed the commencement of the examination. Kingsley Uchebu monitored the exams.
That was part of the protests that characterized the conduct of the JAMB UTME in some centers in Benin on Saturday. Monday's exercise was slightly hitch-free, except for complaints of late commencement in some centers. Some candidates and their parents called for a review of strategies by JAMB to ensure that it keeps to time.
I'm waiting here since 7 o'clock, waiting for the 7 people to come out. We're supposed to enter by 9 o'clock. I don't even know what is happening inside, but they say we should wait outside.
My daughter was supposed to enter by 9. That would have been the second set. But we are made to understand that it's first set that is still in there. They entered 7, by 9 they were supposed to be out. And this is past 10 already. So we don't know what is happening in there.
I can see that it is well organized and everything is going on well. So I'm well pleased with the way I see things happening.
Following the challenges that characterized Saturday's examination in some CBT centers, the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, delisted 25 computer-based testing centers that failed to conduct examinations. 3 centers were delisted in Edo State. JAMB's head of media, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, had directed candidates scheduled to write the examination in the affected centers to check for new instructions on the centers and dates on their profile, phones or emails. Kingsley Uchebu reporting.
No fewer than 7 schools in Edo State have been shut down indefinitely in aftermath of the attack on Federal Government College Ebonyi by suspected bandits. The state chairman of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, Alhaji Isa Azika, told newsmen that those affected are schools located on the front lines of the areas prone to attacks by suspected bandits. He said that the government had directed all school principals to close any school which they believed were not safe, adding that police and vigilantes have also been deployed to the schools for monitoring and protection. Vehicular movement along Airport Road, Benin City, yesterday was disrupted for hours by protesters from Ogede community in Ovia Northeast local government area over alleged injustice meted on them by military personnel from Ekenwan Barracks. Efosa Wangwe has details.
The protesters stormed the corporate office of Independent Television and Radio, Airport Road, GRA, Benin City, chanting solidarity songs. Investigation reveals that the land dispute between the parties has lingered for years, with various governments unable to find an amicable solution. The protesters said this is why they decided to take their destinies in their hands and seek for justice. The spokespersons for the Ogede people said the situation is presently going out of hand, as they, who are supposed to be indigenes of the land, have been turned to strangers while their houses and land have been taken over by the military personnel. They said several attempts to make the perpetrators see reason with them have been unsuccessful, as the army personnel have laid claim to ownership of the vast land in the Ogede community.
The problem now is that the army, they encroach into Ogede land with force. They don't allow people to do their normal business, farming, and every other thing. They disturb them every day.
What we want now, we want the army to leave our land for us. They are fighting us in the bush. You can't even make fun as we are talking now. As we are nobody inside the village, both women, both small children, we are not doing anything now. We are crying. Please, they should come and rescue us.
We are begging the military to leave our land for us.
We are the host of the soldiers. Our forefathers lived in that portion of land they are living in presently. But it's surprising to us, they came, they started encroaching into every place. They said they are the owner. So they are not asking us to leave our land alone. Even our hospital, our markets, lands, all of them, they drove people away. They beat up people every day and now. So we are begging the government to come to our aim, to come and rescue us.
The top military official, who preferred anonymity, described the allegations as unfounded and a calculated attempt by some disgruntled elements to drag the respected name of the force to disrepute. Efosa Wangwe reporting.
Dozens of suspected members of the indigenous people of Biafra and Eastern Security Network have been arrested in connection with the attacks on police stations and INEC offices in Ebonyi State. The Commissioner of Police in Ebonyi, Aliyu Gaba, made this known while parading the suspects alongside orders at the police headquarters in Abakaliki, the state capital. Thermosado completes the report.
The Ebonyi State Police Commissioner Aliyu Gaba noted that policemen acting on intelligence arrested the suspected IPOB and ESM members, numbering 39, at a meeting with a native doctor in a community, Agubia Ikwo. Gaba explained that in the course of an investigation, the police discovered that the group was responsible for the attacks on some security formations, during which some police and military men were killed and their arms were stolen. He also paraded others involved in the attacks on some of offices of INEC in the state, as well as suspected armed robbers, car snatchers, among others. Thomas Sado reporting.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited have been ordered to pay 82 billion naira as general damages over oil spillage in Ibeno and other communities in Akwa Ibom State. The Federal High Court in Abuja awarded the sum against the two corporations in a judgment delivered by Justice Taiwo. Thomas Hedo again has details of this report.
Delivering judgment, Justice Taiwo ordered the oil corporations to pay the sum within 14 days or pay 8% of the sum per annum. Justice Taiwo had earlier struck out ExxonMobil from the list of defendants on account of being an American-registered company, leaving the NNPC and Mobil Producing Nigeria Unlimited. The court held that the oral and documentary evidence produced by Mobil were not helpful in their case, describing them as serving predetermined assets. According to Justice Taiwo, the action of Mobil is a clear violation of relevant sections of the Oil Pipeline Act that makes it mandatory for the oil companies to monitor and fix defective pipelines. Some parties to the case speak on the judgment.
353 oil wells are being produced by ExxonMobil through their subsidiaries in joint venture with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. The whole world is screaming, let's go green, let's go green. In Nigeria, it is let's go black, let's go black.
We are trusting that ExxonMobil will find us as their first line security and support us in enhancing the peaceful environment for their business to thrive. Without us offering that peaceful environment, they will not be making these billions of dollars.
Thomas Sado reporting.
The tax team for the development of African vaccines and equitable universal access to vaccines and vaccination in Africa was officially launched by Igbinedion University Okada, IU, in collaboration with Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, CODA. Beston Bureau reports that signing of the historical memorandum of understanding for the project was witnessed by the Governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, amongst other eminent personalities across Africa.
It was an epic and historic moment for the African continent as dignitaries and members of the university community converged on the auditorium of the Nigerian Premium Private University, Igbinedion University Okada, to witness the official launch of the tax team for the development of vaccines and equitable and universal access for vaccines and vaccination in Africa. The executive director of CODA, Sued Aden Osman, welcoming guests, said unity in Africa is crucial to breaking new grounds, especially in the health sector. She said CODA and Igbinedion University Okada believe that the views of non-state actors are important in achieving the results. Sued Aden Osman said CODA is engaged in creative and alternative initiative or platform to allow Africans to pursue policies and programs that will protect and serve the health needs of our people.
With this initiative, what CODA and Igbinedion University Okada are saying is that non-state actors' views and actions are equally important to assist our governments.
The chairman of the occasion, a former president of Nigeria, and also the chairman board of directors of the Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, represented by Professor Abdullahi Bitili from Senegal, said, but for colonization, Africa would have been the center of invention and production of vaccines. He added that the gathering is a way to reconnect Africa for repositioning. Chief Obasanjo thanked Igbinedion University Teaching Hospital for being the center for the takeoff and development of customized African vaccines. He said the initiative is one that will help Africa look inwards and to positively change the use of vaccines and vaccination.
I am glad to let you know that today's launch is in fulfillment of that promise, and it marks the beginning of new partnership and collaborations that will see our continent play a lead role in vaccine development, production, and distribution.
The Deputy Chairperson, African Union Commission, Professor Monique Nzanza-Bagawa, thanked the Esama of Benin, His Excellency, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osawa Igbinedion, and Igbinedion University Okada for hosting the event. She said the recent outbreak of COVID-19 has spurred world leaders to address issues of vaccines. He said what Igbinedion University Teaching Hospital has embarked upon is a wake-up call for other private institutions to be involved in addressing the root cause of African health challenges.
Very much delighted that Igbinedion University Okada is taking up the challenge to champion this new initiative that will help increase the research, development, and distribution of vaccines in Africa.
The governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, thanked the Esama of Benin, Cell Chief Dr. Gabriel Sawa Igbinedion, for his foresight and vision in establishing the institution which is now being used as a center for the development of vaccines in Africa. He assured that government of Edo State is in support of the initiative and urged CODA to place emphasis on strengthening the primary healthcare system across Africa.
The launch of an independent task team on the equitable and universal access to vaccines and vaccination in Africa, the initiative of the Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, CODA, and its partners is therefore occurring at the right time in the history of vaccines and vaccinations.
The Minister of Health, Dr. Osagie Hanire, via Zoom, said that it is commendable that CODA is collaborating with Igbinedion University Okada in response to access to vaccines in Africa. He said the development is an excellent approach towards putting an end to Africans' dependence on foreign donors for vaccines. The President and Chairman, Board of Trustees, Afrexim Bank, and Chairman, Board of Trustees of the African Union COVID-19 Response Team, who is a partner of the tax team, Professor Benedict Orama, said the spread of the COVID-19 with the discovery of new variants, Africa care for less than 0.1% of vaccines production, thereby relying on the goodwill of international donors. He said the benevolence of international support may not be sustainable, hence the need to develop African vaccines.
Edo University Teaching Hospital to profile solutions to perhaps the most intractable subject matter confronting Africa in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. This being getting access to the COVID-19 vaccines.
I'm particularly pleased that this task team has been established. Afrexim Bank welcomes being a part of the team. It is through such engagements and initiatives that we will take collective ownership of our destiny. We congratulate the Igbinedion University for the vision of hosting this event and supporting the initiative.
In a keynote address, the Deputy Chancellor, Igbinedion University Okada, and former two-term Governor of Edo State, Chief Lucky Nosaka Igbinedion, said there have been outbreaks of different diseases which send signals that Africa must take definite action and take charge of its public health response.
Africa manufactures only a little fraction of its medical equipment and health commodities supplies. On this note, Igbinedion University Okada is delighted to champion this new initiative that will facilitate the development, manufacturing, distribution of vaccines in Africa. And we are fortunate to have found a suitable ally in CODA, an institution with a similar vision and ready to work with us on this valuable initiative.
High point was the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding by the Chief Medical Director, Igbinedion University Teaching Hospital, Professor Godwin Osaka Bazwaye, on behalf of the hospital, while the Executive Director, Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, Suede Aden Osman, signed on behalf of CODA under the watchful eyes of the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Dr. Monique Nzanza Bagawa, Edo State Governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, Deputy Chancellor, Igbinedion University Okada, Chief Lucky Nosaka Igbinedion, and other members of CODA, an agreement which gives an institutional backing to the project.
The document has just been signed. Congratulations. Congratulations to CODA, congratulations to the Igbinedion University, Igbinedion University Teaching Hospital. Congratulations to all Africans.
The event also witnessed the unveiling of the statue which depicts the rich Benin culture, which will be mounted at the African Union's headquarters at Addis Ababa. The ceremony later dissolved into an interactive session.
A journey, no matter the distance, they say begins with a step. And that is the step that has been taken by Igbinedion University Okada, Igbinedion University Teaching Hospital, in collaboration with the Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, CODA, in ensuring that Africa produce its own vaccine against the future outbreak of diseases and even the current diseases that Africans are currently battling with at the moment. From Igbinedion University Okada, Best Mbiere reporting.
Participants at a roundtable discussion shortly after the official launch of the task team for the development of African vaccines by IUO in collaboration with Coalition for Dialogue on Africa, yesterday analyzed partnership with other private institutions, amongst others, as crucial strategy to achieve said goals. Bestumbury has details of the report.
The chairman of the independent task team for the production of vaccines in Africa, Professor Godwin Nosahai Bazwaye, said at the roundtable discussion that vaccines intake in Africa is enormous and the outbreak of COVID-19 is an eye-opener. Professor Bazwaye said Africa spends more than $1.5 billion in procuring vaccines yearly, when in essence, Africa has the material, financial, and human resources to manufacture its own vaccines. He said Ebonyi University Okada and Ebonyi University Teaching Hospital is setting a center of excellence not for Nigeria only, but for Africa to deal with the health challenge headlong through the development of vaccines.
Why would we as Africans continue to rely on the exportation of vaccines when we have what it takes to actually produce, distribute, and market these vaccines? So I think, as I keep saying, wherever you wake up is your morning. We have just woken up, and we must continue to pursue this agenda with CODA and all stakeholders to ensure that we can provide vaccines for Africa.
The discussants, who are experts in different fields, said Africa cannot continue to consume ideas, arguments, and production of other countries. They highlighted what it will require to produce African vaccines, to include partnership with other private institutions, confidence, amongst other strategies.
We need to change the mindset that scientific research is the most important pillar for development. So we need the collaboration of the financial institution, the policies. I always call it the triad of empowerment. It depends on three pillars: the people, the policy, and the product.
In order for us to truly create a self-owned industry of vaccine production on the continent, we must also be willing to put up the resources that will be required to start the process.
How do we unlock private sector money to manufacture vaccines? Governments on the continent must create an enabling environment for the private sector to invest in R&D, for the private sector to manufacture vaccines. The government itself must invest in healthcare. We cannot, and cannot at all, depend on donors in the West.
The panelists unanimously agreed that social networking was fundamental ingredient and that government should provide the enabling environment for the realization for the production of African vaccines. Best Mbere reporting.
Chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Major General Muhammad Mawa, retired, as opposed demands of the legislation of cannabis, popularly referred to as NDLEA, in Nigeria. Major General Mawa, retired, said the nation cannot afford to mortgage the lives of citizens for financial gains by legalizing NDLEA. William Siama has details.
Addressing journalists in Abuja ahead of the 2021 World Drug Day, the NDLEA chairman, Major General Mohammed Buba Mawa, spoke in response to calls by Edo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu for the legalization of the cultivation of cannabis sativa, also known as India hemp. Major General Mawa, retired, said it is not acceptable to NDLEA and that the agency will continue to destroy marijuana farms and prosecute whoever is caught doing the business. He said such calls by the governor of Ondo State and some legislators must be resisted at all costs. The NDLEA chairman says students and intended couples should also be subjected to drug tests. Some stakeholders said all hands will be on deck on how the drug can be won. William Siama reporting.
Edo State Police Command has arrested a 13-year-old boy who murdered his father on Sunday in Ebonyi Estate, second power line at Wutubu. Kingsley Uchegwu reports that Edo State Police Public Relations Officer also briefed on the recent breakthrough record by the command.
Following Sunday's incident, Edo State Police Command launched a manhunt which paid off with the arrest of a 13-year-old son of the deceased, Alhaji Abdullahi Oronsaye, who confessed to have macheted his father to death on Father's Day. SP Bello said, being underaged, the police is to seek advice from DPP on prosecution while investigation is on to unravel the cause of the incident. He said the matter has been transferred from a Wotubu division to the Homicide Department of the State Command.
His son, his last born, of 13 years old, used machete on him and stabbed him to death. For now, the police is still on investigation to unravel the real motive behind him killing his own father, taking the life of his own father. So that is the stage we are now.
In a related development, PPRO Kontongs Bello has hailed the gallantry exhibited by a senior police officer who killed 2 members of a 3-man armed robbery gang during a robbery incident in a Tete area in Benin City. He said a cut-to-size double-barrel gun and live ammunition were recovered, while one of the suspects escaped with gunshot injuries.
The gallant officer, behaving as if he's removing his phone from the pocket, bring out his service pistol and bring down 2. These same persons, information received at our ATT division revealed that they have robbed more than 20 persons before they meet their Waterloo.
Kingsley Uchebu reporting.
The Esama of Benin, His Excellency Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osawa Igbenedion and Chancellor Igbenedion University Okada, was yesterday given a standing ovation by dignitaries and students who attended the official launch of the tax stem for the development of African vaccines. Besson-Berry reports that the ceremony was colorful.
May we welcome the Chancellor of Igbenedion University, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osawaru Igbenedion.
That was the warm reception accorded the Chancellor, Igbenedion University Okada and Esama of Benin, His Excellency Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osawaru Igbenedion, on arrival at the auditorium of the institution to be part of the epic making event. Every available space at the parking lot was occupied with exotic vehicles signifying the retinue of personalities that graced the occasion. Security arrangements was watertight. The band boys made use of their instruments to usher in guests. At different intervals, INEC theatre troupe took the center stage to entertain Africans. Some guests who include the South Africa High Commissioner to Nigeria, His Excellency Tami Nsiluku, commended Igbenedion University Teaching Hospital and CODA for commencing what they described as a laudable journey towards the actualization of African vaccines.
Any initiative that ensures that Africa actually takes a step towards being self-sufficient in vaccines and in other aspects must be welcomed. So I'm here representing South Africa to actually welcome this initiative of a partnership between CODA and the Igbenedion University.
The Esama of Benin Kingdom is always in the forefront of doing things. And now there's another wonderful initiative. It's bringing all Africa together here in Edo State. It's a very wonderful thing.
Igbenedion University and Igbenedion University Teaching Hospital. That is the most important part. That's the most important part, because without the platform provided by IUTH and Igbenedion University Teaching Hospital, Igbenedion University, of course this wouldn't happen. So big thanks to the Esama of the universe.
With the support of Igbenedion University Teaching Hospital, we were able to have more vaccine for people to take and be able to withstand the virus, the pandemic, so that we can stay healthy and safe. So it's a good development, and I want to remain grateful to Esama.
The event was held under strict compliance with COVID-19 protocols. Best Mbiere reporting.
Still to come on the world news, head of World Trade Organization hails plant vaccine hub in Africa. Stay tuned. The head of World Trade Organization says Africa is working with the European Union and other partners to create regional hubs to produce vaccines. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said facilities will be established in South Africa, Senegal, and Rwanda, while Nigeria is also being considered. She said the over-centralization of vaccine production was incompatible with equitable access, especially during a health crisis. Also, French President Emmanuel Macron said he was delighted by the news, saying the South African hub was going to be the first of many. The United Nations has agreed and urged countries that can donate surplus supplies to the continent, as Africa is facing a major shortage of coronavirus jab. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has confirmed plans to pardon Catalan separatists this week. He said pardons of the 9 leaders jailed for sedition will be sent to the cabinet today. Deborah Guefon has details.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said the country has pardoned 9 leaders jailed for sedition and another 3 found guilty of disobedience but not jailed over failed independence attempt in 2017. Mr. Sanchez, during a speech in Barcelona on Monday, said the country's decision is guarded by constitutional spirits of forgiveness and proposed that the cabinet approve the pardon.
This is what the Spanish government has decided. To face the problem, to look for agreement. So tomorrow, keeping in mind the harmonious spirit of the Constitution, I'll propose to the Cabinet to grant clemency to the 9 prisoners.
This announcement has prompted thousands of people protesting against the plans earlier this month, but the government says the move will help calm tension over Catalonia. The semi-autonomous region's drive for independence almost 4 years ago plunged Spain into its biggest political crisis in 40 years. Opponents, however, have accused the Spanish government of using the plans to gain political support. The country's Supreme Court has also said it opposes the decision, although its position is not binding. The Prime Minister's decision has also been met with anger by Catalonia protesters who believe that the leaders should never have been jailed in the first place. Riots police have been stationed outside Barcelona's Opera House, where hundreds of protesters calling for Catalonia's independence continue to demonstrate during Mr. Sanchez's visits. Deborah Uberfun reporting.
A private plane belonging to Libya's late leader, Muammar Gaddafi, has landed in the capital, Tripoli, after nearly a decade in France for safekeeping and maintenance. The plane, an Airbus A340, flew over the skies of Tripoli before landing at Mitigar International Airport near the capital city. It said that the plane's maintenance and other procedures had been completed, with the interim government paying all the needed costs for its return to Libya. The Prime Minister's office announced the same evening on Facebook. Mr. Beiba said that of the remaining 14 jets, 12 were scheduled to fly back to Libya, while the government was working on the return from abroad of 2 outstanding ones. He noted that the famous plane's return to the country was a positive step for Libya, its security and wealth. Several French soldiers have been injured in an attack on a base in central Mali. Those soldiers who were part of Operation Barkhane were injured in Kogorol district in Gossi. The attack is coming weeks after President Emmanuel Macron warned that France would withdraw troops from Mali if political instability there leads to greater Islamist radicalization after a second coup in 9 months in the West African nation. France has 5,100 troops in the Sahel region, which has been a front line in the war against Islamist militancy. Though Burundi government has said the European Union is in the process of removing financial restriction on the country. The president's office announced on Twitter the decision to lift the ban on restrictions was communicated to Burundi's president when he met with EU delegates on Monday in the political capital Gitega. The EU representative in Burundi, Claude Boche, said that was a starting process to lift the ban on Burundi. In 2016, the EU suspended direct financial support to the Burundian government over human rights violations after the unrest that followed the failed coup of 2015. Since 2020, under President Edo State, Burundi has made efforts to restore rights and foreign relations and had approached the EU to lift the ban. The president of Ethiopia has praised the electoral board, saying it has given hope to voters. President Shimelis Abdisa said the decision the board had been taken and the way they run their activities has given the country a new hope. Mr. Shimelis sued back Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed dismissed concerns about insecurity in the region, where federal troops are fighting insurgents in the west and southern parts. According to the electoral board, about 37 million people have registered to vote across the country, and of those, about 15 million are in Oromia. The election has, however, been boycotted by two main opposition parties in Oromia after their leaders were jailed. India has launched a new vaccine drive, announcing a record 8 million jabs on the first day of the program. The new policy sees the government buying COVID-19 jabs from manufacturers and supplying to states. Deborah Weffin has details.
The scale-up of the vaccination drive in India, Prime Minister Modi announced earlier this month that everyone would get free vaccines from June 21st. On the first day of the new policy, he praised the pace of India's vaccine program, with over 5% of the total eligible population so far vaccinated, and shortages persist in many states. Under the previous COVID-19 vaccine, half of all vaccines produced in India went to the federal government and the rest were sent to state administrations and private hospitals. Although the states competed on the open markets for vaccine doses for 18 to 44 age group, recipients were able to get them for free at state governments' vaccination centers. Meanwhile, the Indian government says it is vaccinating frontline workers and those aged above 45. Under the new policy, the federal government will now buy 75% of all vaccines manufactured in the country. India is one of the biggest vaccine makers in the world, but its own vaccines drive has been moving at a slow pace. Deborah Ubefun reporting.
United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization has said the Great Barrier Reef should be put on a list of World Heritage Sites that are in danger due to damage caused by climate change. The United Nations Cultural Body says the world's biggest coral reef system should be downgraded to the list at a meeting next month. It is urged Australia to take accelerated action on global warming. However, the Australian government said it would strongly oppose the recommendation. The latest row is part of an ongoing dispute between United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization and the Australian government over the status of the iconic site. The reef, stretching for 1,400 miles off Australia's northeast coast, gained World Heritage ranking in 1981 for its enormous scientific and intrinsic importance. Scientists say the main reason is rising sea temperatures as a result of global warming caused by burning of fossil fuels. But Australia remains reluctant to commit to stronger climate action. The Gambia's international football team has boycotted a meeting with the country's president, Adama Barrow, in a row over their bonuses for qualifying for the African Cup of Nations finals. The players have written to the Gambia Football Federation president, Lamin Gaba Bajo, to decline the invite to meet the president on Monday. At the meet, amongst all the players and backroom staff involved in the Gambia's first ever qualification for the Nations Cup, This court does not feel the money reflects the magnitude of its achievement and is also concerned that accepting the money will set a precedent for the future. The Gambian management to qualify for January's Nation Cup finals in Cameroon by finishing top of their group ahead of Gabon, DR Congo, and Angola. To end the world news, a look at our top stories. The head of the World Trade Organization says Africa is working with European Union and other partners to create regional hubs to produce vaccines. Dr. Konje Gazewela says facilities will be established in South Africa, Senegal, and Rwanda, while Nigeria